Do you want to know how to do this? Well then, you have come to the right place, as today I'll be teaching you the tips and tricks, the ins and outs of the Kazuha Bench trick. In this tutorial video, I'm going to be covering everything from the basics to the more complex interactions of Kazuha's infusion mechanics. So without further ado, let us commence with the basic info that you will need to perform this bench bug. First of all, it is important to know that Kazuha's elemental skill infuses with the element that is currently applied to him. And yes, this may seem really simple, but trust me, it will get more important later. For instance, right now, Kazuha is affected by Hydro, so the plunge will be, and you guessed it, Hydro. With that out of the way, we're going to go directly into the glitch, and it is actually surprisingly easy to do. All you need to do is hold Kazuha's elemental skill, and just a couple milliseconds after he lifts himself off the ground, you'll have to press the interact button on any asset that you can sit on. And yes, this works on any entity that you can sit on, even the ones that are in your teapot. It is also worth noting that you can only do this with the hold version of the skill and not the press. And that is it. You have done the glitch for conserving Kazuha's plunge attack. It is just that simple. Now, there's going to be some important aspects that you will need to understand for this glitch. First of all, it lasts the usual 9 seconds, which is about the cooldown of his elemental skill on hold. Secondly, you can perform this plunge attack from any height, which means you can plunge even from a normal jump or even a small ledge. But you will need to be wary, as anything that counts as landing, jumping, or climbing will cancel the plunge infusion. In order to prevent this from happening, you can switch to other characters. As a matter of fact, it is nearly necessary to swap out of Kazuha every single time you want to move, to prevent him losing his infusion. Alright, with that out of the way, we're up to the second part of the glitch. That is going to let us do these colorful infusions. As a matter of fact, I've said that this lasts for 9 seconds, which means that we can wait out the cooldown of the second elemental skill and perform 2 plunge attacks in a row. This means we can infuse one element and preserve it for 9 seconds, and then infuse with another different element and perform a plunge attack just after the first one. In order to get the aura on Kazuha, we're going to be utilizing 2 characters, Bennett and Barbara, because they are the only characters in the game that can apply elements to other party members other than themselves, as units like Beidou or Diona only apply elements to themselves and not to the character that you swap out into. And yes, you can utilize any other pyro character to set the grass on fire, for example, but it would just be a little more tricky to get some setups right. So this is why I strongly recommend having these 2 characters for this glitch. Alright, now that we've learned the basics of the elements of Kazuha's elemental skill and this glitch, we can start performing more complex setups to infuse with multiple elements in quick succession. For the setup locations, I suggest a spawn that has a bench nearby and a pool of water. Some examples are going to be the Monster's Fountain or the Inazuma's River that runs through the city and has a bench right near the Tamaki stall or stand. The more basic setup that I have found is where we're going to start with a Hydro infusion, then Bennett will override it into a Pyro infusion on our second elemental skill, and we'll finish off with a Hydro infused elemental burst using Barbara. Now, the setup can be a bit tricky as Bennett ultimate can run out, and Barbara's elemental skill may not apply Hydro at the right time, as it can be a little bit finicky. But if done correctly, we can successfully do a Hydro Pyro Hydro rotation. Now, as you can see, Barbara's application is not quite that long, and as you can see, I totally missed my burst infusion on that one. Oh, and yeah, if you need to redo the glitch, if you've missed anything, I suggest these 2 bosses to farm for energy, which are going to be the Cryoregisvine and the PMA, as they're pretty close to teleport waypoints. So here is an example of a fully perfect Hydro Pyro Hydro rotation. Alright, now that you understand the more complex rotations, you can see where this starts to get interesting, as we can go for other rotations, like for example a Pyro Hydro Pyro rotation. And what is even more interesting, that we only need 2 characters for this if we are in Mondstadt area. And God forbid you have Kazuha C1, as that expands the rotation to 4 different infusions. Fortunately I don't have him, so you just have to experiment for yourself. As a matter of fact, you can perform this glitch even in your teapot. and show it off to all your friends. Unfortunately, I play Genshin Impact and I do not have friends. Yeah. So, moving on. You can utilize other characters for mobility, like Yellen or Sayu, or even place a teleport waypoint to make your life a little bit easier, but they're completely not necessary to perform this glitch. As a matter of fact, you can just run to the bench after utilizing the teleport waypoint in Mondstadt just fine. And as a quick note, if you're using another pyro unit to burn the grass, just teleporting out of the area and back in will reset the grass in that area. Right, so you may think that that is it. Well, no. Now the thing is, we can infuse other elements like Electro and Cryo. The problem is, how do you get them? Because we do not have any character in the game that applies it directly to you. Initially, I thought about Electro Charge and that it can apply Electro to your current character. But apparently that is not the case, as Electro Charge does not apply Electro to your character. But that will not stop us, as we can get infusions from other sources and then teleport to Mondstadt to perform the glitch. I suggest that you use this spot as it has an Electro Crystal and Cryo Mist Flowers almost at the same place, so it is just easier to remember. You can use enemies for it, but I just find that Electro Crystals and the Mist Flowers are a little bit easier to go around. Alright, so all we have to do now is just change the first infusion for the bench and voila! You now have 3 elements in one rotation. It is just as easy as that. So here's an example of an Electro Pyro Hydro rotation. And of course, if you have C1, you can extend it to an Electro Pyro Hydro Pyro rotation. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Now for Cryo, I suggest that you stand on land so you would not get frozen. So we only get the Cryo Aura because you do not want to get frozen. And here is going to be a Cryo Pyro Hydro rotation. Now, as a matter of fact, for an example of a C1 rotation, you can even perform something like Cryo Hydro Pyro Hydro, which, yeah, that is getting ridiculous. So yeah, now that you know how to rainbow infuse your Kazuha, feel free to play around and show it off to your friends. And yes, this is going to be it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See you, travelers!